Well, Graeme, 250 days to go until the race in Melbourne. Are you 100% convinced you'll be absolutely ready and raring to go on that day?
Yes, yes is the short answer. You know, it's a number that's on the wall of every office that we have. We have a countdown clock which shows the time between now and free practice one in Melbourne, and yeah, so everyone's acutely aware of the timeline.
Yeah, I mean it's been a really tight time frame since the entry was ratified. Is it maybe a third of the time you'd have liked to have had to put all this together?
Yeah, I mean, you know, in the ideal world, you'd like to have, you know, clear certainty and a, you know, and a substantial run up. But you know, the sport doesn't work that way. You know, the regulations change in a certain cycle, and the entry process itself was, you know, very lengthy. It was over 760 days, and quite rightly so. You know, this is Formula One. It's the pinnacle of motorsport, and the entry process was unbelievably rigorous, and it involved a huge amount of input from, you know, myself and all the colleagues here on the team. But you know, we know that you know, we've submitted more than enough detail to show that that the team's going to be ready and capable.
Yeah. Well, let's look at the upside, because there maybe are some to coming at it fresh. You've been able to work a little bit longer on the 26 regulations in some areas than others. So could you have a car on track first, a 2026 car before everyone else, even if it's not a 2026 engine, maybe?
Well, you know, the key thing about Formula One is everything is just in time, because you make every single component as late as you possibly can, because then you're integrating into that component everything that you've learned, primarily on the aerodynamic side of things. And it's why Formula One is so intense in terms of timeline. So, you know, yes, it would be nice to build our car a little bit earlier than the others, because we're not racing a 25 car, but every day we do that is one day less aero development, and you know, every single day counts in terms of that. You know, it's the laws of physics.
But you shouldn't be behind too much.
No, we're on target. You know, you know, for sure we're on target now. We've been in the wind tunnel with a 26 car for quite some time. We were in the tunnel last year because we were not under the regulations that other teams were. But equally, we haven't had access to the same data that other teams have had the benefit of. So there's, you know, some swings and roundabouts. But you know, this is a new team. There's a lot of very experienced people and a lot of really clever people. You know, so obviously we're excited to see where the performance journey takes us. But we're under no illusions. You know, Formula One is tough. It is really, really tough. And so, you know, it's an achievement to be there racing. But once we're there racing, you know, obviously we want to be as competitive as we can be, as quickly as we can be.
You've always struck me as you wear pressure quite lightly as an individual, and you've been in some pressure situations and some tough ones. I mean, I remember Marussia and what happened, and the fire sale of all the bits of kit. I'm wondering now, behind this desk, and comparing it to then, did you think at Marussia, if only I had a bit more finance, if only we had a bit more resource, and now you have all of that at your disposal?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there were a lot of things contributed to the challenge back in you know, when we were running that team. You know, the highs in motorsport are very high, and the lows are desperately low, and we had a combination of a number of things that happened that, you know, tested everybody to extreme degree, for sure. You know, now, you know, one of the key things is the partnerships that we have with General Motors. It's one of the biggest automotive manufacturers in the world, and that really gives us, you know, real strength and depth. And you know, they have a over 120-year history of innovation, and they're bringing that to play as well. You know, with the mindset, and also, you know, the approach that they have to motor racing. You know, they're not newcomers to motorsport. And then with TWG, you know, other key partner, as well. They have a fantastic understanding of sport and great vision as well. They're involved in a lot of other sports.
Well, Chelsea, for example, I mean, are there some areas where you could collaborate with their sporting structures and so on?
Yeah, well, if you look at TWG, they have huge interest in motor racing as well, both in IndyCar, NASCAR, Formula E, but other sports, so like Chelsea, NBA, yeah. The Dodgers, the Lakers. So these people understand sport, and they understand it at a really, really, really cutting edge level as well. And so there's a huge amount that we can learn and benefit from as a team. So if we marry that together with one of the things I really like, and I do think reflects from our time with Mana and Mauritius, is the team spirit here is really excellent, and that's something that's an important ingredient as well. So if we mix that with the strength and the stability and the vision that we have with General Motors and with TWG, then it's really, really exciting to see what the future can hold for the team.
Yeah. So you've got 400 staff here. A lot of them, I saw people like Nick Chester joined up here before the entry was ratified, and maybe took a bit of risk and personal investment, which is paying off for them. I guess, are others gaining a little bit of a promotion? They're also at the start of something, so it's different from. There's a bit of energy you can maybe take collectively from all of that.
Yeah, and it's an adventure as well. For everyone involved. One thing that a new team can offer for sure is responsibility. Because when there's bucket loads to do, you've got to pick a bucket up on the way in and get on with it. And so when the first Cadillac Formula One team car turns a wheel for the very first time, everyone who's there will be able to point at it and say, I did that, and that's something really quite special. You walk around our facility here and also in the US, you'll see a lot of familiar faces, a lot of people who've spent decades and cumulatively hundreds of years together in Formula One. But I think the team can offer really something new and exciting and interesting, and certainly we're finding that because we're recruiting a lot of people, and they're finding it attractive.
Yeah. How many of the 400 have come directly from other teams?
Quite a lot.
3/4, something like that, or more than that?
I would say more. Yeah.
Virtually everyone is.
No, so we have a graduate program as well. Pat Simmons has been involved in the team for quite some time now, and Pat's always been a big advocate of that. And when it's a great way to find really new, fresh thinking. Formula One is an incredibly creative sport. You have to build your own. You have to hand build your own cars. That's really what makes it different, and that's a creative process. And so, it's really good to have this diverse set of team members from all over, and it's very exciting to see that come together. Yeah.
The two team members everyone has the most interest in, I suppose, will be the drivers. Yes. You haven't announced anyone yet, and is that going to be soon? Is Silverstone weekend significant? Have you even had proper face-to-face interviews, or are those coming up soon too? And I guess it'll be yourself. Dan Towris will be involved in that. Mario Andretti potentially have input too.
Well, the good thing is we know a lot. We know a lot of the drivers who are out there, both the younger guys who've been coming up through Formula 2, and also the more established drivers who have a lot of Formula 1 experience. And we talk to these people all the time, and we try and spend time in the paddock as well, and it's important to talk to them. But also, the main focus up to now has been building the car. I think if we reach Melbourne and there was no car for a driver to drive, then nobody would thank us at all. And but that said, we are advancing discussions with a number of drivers, and we won't be announcing anything at Silverstone as such, but I would say watch this space.
Okay. I mean, Valtteri Bottas posted a nice social video last week where he looked longingly at a couple of Cadillac seats, and and declared that he liked the idea of that very much. So we all thought maybe that's because he's halfway there.
I saw that post. Yeah.
No meaning, no special meaning to that in terms from your side, is it?
Well, it shows he's bought a Cadillac. That was the other thing that struck me from the day that the entry was announced and was official. I got contacted by a lot of driver managers, and the one thing that was clear is everybody wants to drive a Cadillac. That was the message that I've got. So we've got a long list of very, very, very good drivers who are keen.
He and Sergio Perez, I guess, are towards the more experienced end, and there's the North American aspect with Checo Perez too, which will be a factor.
We are an American team. Yeah. Our head office is in Fishers in Indianapolis, and I think the fans would love to see an American driver in an American team, ultimately with an American engine as well. I think there's a lot that can be offered from that point of view, but in terms of selecting the drivers, there's a real mix of skills, and we're very lucky at the minute. We're out of synchronization with the other teams at present. We've got a little bit of time, and we can spend that time making sure that when we do announce the driver lineup, it'll be the right one, and we hope that the fans will be excited by it as well, and hopefully excited by the fact that there's a new team on the grid that they can follow. Yeah,
there's a young Brazilian guy employed down the road, Felipe Drogovic, which I'm only raising his name. I mean, but the latest cohort of young drivers have been very impressive.
Yes.
And so is it a point where it's less of a risk even for a new team to maybe have someone of that ilk?
Well, I think we went through a couple of years where very few drivers came through, in particular from Formula 2, and then we've now seen a bunch who've adapted very quickly, and it shows that it can be done. But as a team, we don't underestimate the task. Everyone involved in this team is super experienced, but we don't underestimate the task of bringing a new team onto the grid in Melbourne, and I know it'd be the same for the drivers as well. So whoever we choose, you can be sure that a lot of thought will have gone into it.
Okay, so I guess they're the last piece in the jigsaw. So maybe even the full lineup, as in you might sign one driver, but maybe not the full lineup confirmed until towards the end of the year.
We're not sure. Yeah, we're not sure yet, and it's obviously not just the race drivers as well, but reserve drivers, test drivers, simulator drivers. We've got a huge simulator program that's ongoing already. That's running 4 or 5 days a week at the moment in Charlotte, in North Carolina. There's quite a few drivers that are needed, and it'd be great to unveil those drivers to the fans, and we want the fans to join us on this journey. It's not every day that a new team joins the grid in Formula One, and so. As I said before, the first time that Cadillac Formula One team car turns the wheel, that's going to be a special moment for a lot of people, not least of whoever's driving it, but also the people who've designed and manufactured all those parts as well.
Yeah. Listen, a couple of quick questions to finish. One, it's Cadillac. You've had this 1 year plan to get onto the grid. Is there a 3, a 5, a 10-year plan to get to the very front of it? Because as everyone knows, you can't just expect instant success.
No, it's super difficult. Formula One is difficult. It's intensely competitive. It really, really is. There's a regulation change in 2026, so we're yet to see how other teams will adapt to that. But no new team coming into Formula One has any right to in reality, to be anywhere other than at the back of the grid. And so obviously, our challenge is to try and move forward. And we've got all the right ingredients, as I said before. And I think, whilst we're very realistic about the task in hand, even just pulling everything together in terms of people and assets and race cars and equipment and everything else, even pulling that together is a challenge. We're very realistic about that. But I think it's important to have ambition, and you can see from TWG and from Cadillac, this is a team that that does have vision and ambition to move forward, but we know how difficult that is.
Yeah. Just finally, you've talked about your management structure being based on the Apollo project, and this being a bit like landing someone on the moon. So on team radio and practice, and will you say that's one short lap for a car, one giant leap for General Motors and Cadillac, or something along those? It will be.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll do that one, Craig, and we'll give you
can
the credit.
It. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'll give you that. Good luck. Very good.